Thank
you for having me. Happy to be here.
Good. So everyone, I'm Chris Rouse, and I get the awesome job of interviewing our former students and their unique stories as to how they've taken what they've learned in applied astrology and used it in their career, in their personal life, in their family life, everywhere across the board. And Kiki and I met actually over 4 years ago when we went through applied astrology together. And she has now mentored 7 schools for us in the applied astrology program. Woohoo! She's one of our certified astrologers, and she's also a psychotherapist in Seattle. And so Kiki, I wanted to interview you today because you have, when you came into this and you decided, hey, I want to take astrology to enhance my practice, how did you know that that would enhance your practice?
Well, I don't, like in the beginning, I think it was an intuitive. It was really for myself. I knew I was always interested in astrology. I've forever been interested in really continuing to understand on deeper levels the energy that's happening in the room. And I was just drawn to what Debra was offering. And so I just kind of heard the call and jumped in, like a lot of us have said, who end up there. And it was once I started taking it that I really knew that I had something that was going to enhance my practice. And I started using it like out of the gate. As soon as we were in the first class, right. I came out of the first class and I took it right into my practice.
Right. Right. So that's the elements, which we hear so much about, both from Debra's Missing Element book and that we talk about all the time on these stories, and Debra talks about a lot as well. Can you give us an example of a client where that changed their life?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the elements class, we're sitting in a room full of 10 other people on Zoom with Debra, right? And so she's going through and telling us what everyone's missing element is, what their preponderance of elements is, and you can see it live and in action. And that was so compelling to me that I started to look at some of my clients' charts. I started to pull some of my clients' charts with their permission. And I had one client in particular who I'd been seeing for at least a year, maybe a little longer, who was unemployed for a long period of time, very capable man, but unemployed, and just would weep at the drop of a hat, would start crying uncontrollably in every session, and then would feel shame about it and terrible about it and could understand. So I thought, well, let me look at his chart and see what I find. And lo and behold, no surprise, I found he had a grand trine in water and 0 fire in his chart. So what that tells me about him is he's a highly emotional, highly empathic, highly sensitive person. If we know what the element of water is, he has a gift in that arena. He's in the body of a man. Hello, how many men are encouraged to be highly empathic, highly sensitive, emotional people in our culture?
Not very many.
Right. And so when they are, guess what? They get shamed. And no fire. And fire is really, I would say, a primary element that men are encouraged to have, to be angry and aggressive. So we started talking about that. And then we got him developing his fire through moving his body. And I'm not kidding you, within 6 months, maybe sooner, he had a job. Mm-hmm. And, since then, things have really shifted for him, but it was a way of accessing what was going on with him without talking about him directly or his behavior and making him feel like he was doing something wrong. It's just like, that's how he's built. So he could come to a level of acceptance that he didn't have before.
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's so tangible, right? It's like, oh, it's right here in front of you. Like, that you cry, that you're sensitive, that brings you shame, but here it is right here in front of you. So how can we turn the tables for you and show you that it's really your gift and help you to use it for you instead of against you? It was really tangible tool that you got to use in that session. That's really cool. So that's a really great example of like just what you learned just literally out of the first class in level 1 and how you could take it into your practice, right?
Yeah, and the other piece is like you can get really concrete results because you can say to the person like, okay, you might think that I'm full of, sunshine, but I'm telling you, here's the deal. You have all this water, you have no fire. So let's do an experiment.
Right.
Try doing this for a week or 2 weeks, listening to music, singing loudly, going and doing exercise, speaking up more often, and see what happens. And you can't, I mean, for anybody who's tried it, it's like,
Yeah, it's a game changer. Right.
It's a game changer.
Right. Right. So as soon as they do that, and then it just spirals if they continue along that path and they continue to build their fire. Right. So that's so great. And then the water doesn't swamp you. It becomes if that's how it can become your gift.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so cool. So then you went on to level 2 and level 3. And as I said, you teach and you're certified. So you do this frequently in your practice. But even like with going on to level 2 and 3, where we deepen and we learn the relationship between the planets, we learn the relationship between the planets in your birth chart and where they are in the sky today, like today under the full moon and this lunar eclipse that we're in. Like, do you have an example of where just deepening that knowledge going into the further levels of the school and how they helped your clients also?
Yes. What has happened for me is I've become very out about using astrology in my practice. When people reach out to me about doing psychotherapy work with me, I say, how do you feel about astrology? And if they don't like astrology or that it doesn't work for them, I refer them elsewhere because I can't not use it because it's so accurate. So as I learned about aspects, about the relationships between the planets and how it really informs us of the person's character, what's easy for them, what's hard for them, where are their defense mechanisms the most strong?
Right.
If I know that somebody has a lot of fixed energy, I'm making suggestions. I'm not telling them what to do.
Right.
And if I'm working with someone who has a lot of cardinal energy, I'm just giving them a task and letting them go. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, it really helps me to know how to approach a client in a way that's going to be the most bang for my buck or whatever, like the most beneficial to them for their growth. So I have one client I can think of in particular who was really open to using astrology, a young mother, single mom, had been in an abusive relationship, came to therapy to work on the trauma of that relationship, eventually started dating again, which could be work, I suppose. But she started dating again. And some stuff started to come up with her trauma about the relationship and like what's really happening that's problematic in the relationship or what's from my past. And her dating person, who wasn't her partner yet, he gave his chart info. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to talk about, kind of his chart, help her understand it, help her understand herself a little bit better. And when stuff comes up, we can talk about it from a standpoint of her understanding, if you talk about the transits that are happening currently in the heavens, and she just entered a Pisces progressed moon, which is a 2.5-year cycle of water cycle. And anyone who has been consciously aware of their Pisces progressed moon, confused, cry, sad, quiet, spacey, super open to spiritual information, but not
introverted,
not extroverted and like on task.
Right.
And also it's an energy that dissolves illusion and also wakes us up to our victim patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So knowing that she's in this 2.5-year window, and these are the things that are going to come up. When they come up, she's like, oh, that's the XYZ, that's the Pisces progressed moon. And then what she said to me recently was, not only did astrology really help me understand myself and how I see the world and how I tend to react, mm-hmm. it also gave me tools to work with it. Mm-hmm. And that's really, for me, as a person with 5 planets in Earth, I want to know, where does the rubber meet the road? Where can we really take this, vast kind of massive amount of information, spiritual information and galactic information, and bring it onto the planet so we can do our jobs as humans, bridging the spiritual and the earthly, and be kind to one another. And the job really starts inside of ourselves. And I see astrology offers this really amazing window into self-compassion. And that's where it starts. I mean, Gandhi said it, right?
Right. Right. I mean, that's it. And so
Need
it
to change.
goes back to that tangibility that the applied astrology program brings, whether you're in a therapeutic practice or you're in a yoga practice or whatever it is that you do for work or whatever it is that you do as a human being, just being a mom, not just being a mom, as you and I both know that is the hardest job, but you know, being a mom or any part of what we do is that piece of giving the tangibility of a takeaway. Like, what is it that I can do this week to help myself? What is it that I can think this week? What is it I can feel this week? Like all those things are so tangible with what we look at in the chart.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, the other thing that I want to say is that for as a psychotherapist, the other gift that this gives me and gives the client is they come in, I have their chart. I can't tell you how many people have said to me, and you've probably experienced this giving readings, like, how do you know that about me? You've never even met me. And it's like, well, it's in the chart.
It's right here.
It's right here. You know, so
Right.
so it gives me this leg up from the very beginning. Not that I'm telling people who they are, because I'm not down with that. But it's about showing people like, this is how this would play out. How does this show up for you? Oh, right. So they're like, how do you know this? How do you know this? And so we get to kind of bypass some of the getting to know you stuff that happens not in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I want to say that's not to the exclusion of developing a true relationship.
Right.
Because that's super important. And there's a piece of people feeling gotten, like they feel like I get them. And when we feel gotten, when we feel seen, when we feel held, we can open.
Right.
And when we can open, we can make change.
Right.
And that is what, I mean, I got the goosebumps everywhere.
Exactly. As soon as you said that, like as soon as you can help them feel comfortable because they were validated, seen, and heard, it really is the way to help them open up and really begin that healing process that really helps them to, it just really helps them navigate the healing process on it feels like even a different level. That's how I do it on my coaching practice as well. It's just that, doing it in a different way. So I just love that, Kiki. And I love how much you shared that ability of like how it's really enhanced your practice and how it's really, the shortcut to enlightenment we use a lot, but I love the validation and openness, just validating them to be able to get to that, like, let's really get in and help you heal so that you can go out and help you and heal others and just keep the process going from there. So that's how we heal the planet. Jeez.
I know, it's so easy, right?
Well, in case y'all were wondering, Debra Silverman just texted both of us, I think, with a big yes exclamation point, because she also is a psychotherapist, as you all know by now. So it's like just it's just the way in. So I really appreciate you being here with me today, Kiki, and celebrating the lunar eclipse. I know, you and we've been through a lot together here. So this has really been awesome. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And if you had anything that you were going to say, you've done this before 4 years ago, if anything you were going to tell these people who are thinking, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, what would you say?
Do it. All I can say, I mean, like, my life has changed. Our lives have changed so much. And I've taught 100 students and their lives have changed. I'm watching them become astrologers. They're going to get counseling degrees. They're implementing astrology in their yoga practices. Their relationships have changed. We have this amazing community of people who we gather together on the internet here. We talk about important things. We support each other. We see each other. So come on the astrology bus, please.
Yes, please.
There's room.
There's always room.
There's always room.
I love it. We just keep adding on more buses. So perfect. Well, thank you, Kiki. I appreciate it. And I'll see you soon.
All right. Love ya.
Love you too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.